Shalom, Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahushai, Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahushai, Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahushai, like give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, and double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops, Great Millstone, and peace and salutations to the hopeful elect across the planet Earth, pushing this truth in the spirit, sincerity, and in truth. I just want to talk about, recently in the news, there have been talks about a lot of these NASA scientists have been coming up missing over the past, couple of years up until today. And then this one guy, his name is Wilcox. This guy, David Wilcock, and he was one of these extraterrestrial or UFO researchers, just interesting how all these NASA scientists and UFO researchers are going missing. I guess there's something that Esau doesn't want to get out to the public regarding, these chariots. Well, the information has already been out, starting with the apostles, pushing the truth of the scriptures online. We know that the chariots, or what they call UFOs, are really the chariots of Israel. And they're piloted by, the angels of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. But this article's out of News Nation now. Basically, it just gives you a timeline of these missing scientists. Going back to 2022. Death of NASA engineer Joshua LeBlanc draws scrutiny. July 30th, 2023. Michael David Hicks, researcher at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, died at the age of 59. He worked on major space projects, including NASA's DART program. His death was not officially released to the public. On July 4th, 2024, Frank Mywald, a JPL researcher, died at the age of 61. Space research. Death not publicly known, or cause of death. On May 8th, 2025, Anthony Chavez, former employee at Los Alamos National Laboratory, disappeared. Monica Jacinto Riza, another JPL employee, disappeared while on a hike. She was an aerospace engineer who worked on burn-resistant, high-strength metal alloys. This was weird. She said Riza was not alone on her hike. Police say she was about 30 feet from her companion, smiled and waved, and when the person turned back around, she was gone. June 26, 2025, Melissa Casillas, administrative assistant at Los Alamos, disappeared from her home. She was last seen walking alongside a highway without her phone, wallet, or keys. August 28, 2025, Stephen Garcia, government contractor, disappeared after leaving his Albuquerque home on foot, carrying a handgun. And then December 16, 2025, plasma physicist, MIT professor, was shot to death in his home. It just goes on and on, man. Up until, April 20th, the FBI said the lead investigator determined the connection between these cases. Who knows what these guys have seen or known, or why they were targeted. And the other guy, this guy, he was a ancient aliens expert. David Wilcock, dead at 53 after a mental health crisis. I remember watching this guy, that show, Ancient Aliens. It was a fun show. They went into aliens and UFOs and all that. Conspiracy theorist about it. It was mostly just bugged out stuff, but every now and again they would see some real stuff, put out some real information. But for the most part, it was just all, you know, bugged out philosophies like the Book of the Dead. They go into that. They went into Keeper gas and all that. But, you know, let's see what it says. It says David Wilcock, known for his appearances on the History Channel's Ancient Aliens and other extraterrestrial content creation, has died at 53. Wilcock was involved in an incident with the police on Monday. This was dated. When was this article dated? The 24th, April 24th, 2026, yesterday. Money. Even emergency service dispatched officers over speculation that the individual was having a mental health crisis. I believe he did a podcast where they said that people were coming after him, you know. So he's seen something, or he knew something, or he was about to come out with some type of information. The world governments, he was into that. The elite outside of Ancient Aliens. Wilcock created work related to conspiracy theories about world governments, including the United States, and was involved in projects like the Cosmic Secret, Wisdom Teaching, and Cosmic Disclosure. He did like that one podcast, like I was saying, where he said that people were coming after him. So he probably had some type of truth. But last, this guy, Norman R. Bergeron. If you know, years ago he came out and admitted that the quote unquote UFOs, or the aliens that came out of those UFOs, were black, 7-foot tall men. Yeah, this ex-NASA scientist, NASA employee, and scientist says he's seen 7-foot tall black people getting off UFOs. And here's the video, the infamous. It was a YouTube site called Project Camelot years ago. I remember I saw it. I think I did a video on it years ago. And basically, he said, they were black. The people that got off those ships were black. But he was up there in age. I think he was like 96 years old. I mean, you could probably still find the video if you look hard enough. But this is just off a little Facebook post. Because this guy came to mind when I was doing this video. But yeah, and the ex-NASA employee scientist Norman R. Bergman says he's seen 7-foot tall black people getting off the UFO. That's some information that probably some of these guys were going to come out with, or they knew, or something, to where they were targeted. So he's almost to keep a lid on all that stuff. But the scriptures, plainly give you what these chariots are about, and entities, quote unquote entities, that are flying them, which are the angels of Yahweh Shai. The first scripture, and then those chariots are going to play a dual role. That's probably why they want to keep it locked up and hidden. But this is Zechariah 5:1. I turned and I lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a flying roll. And he said unto me, what seest thou? And I answered, I see a flying roll. The length thereof is 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof 10 cubits. And he said unto me, this is the curse. See, a curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth. For everyone that stealeth shall be cut off. As to this side, according to it, everyone that sweareth shall be cut off. On that side, according to it. Yeah, so when these chariots return, thousands of heaven, Yahweh Shai's army, the whole host of heaven, when those chariots return, man, they're going to be a curse onto this planet Earth. They're going to blast fire and lightnings which are going to be what they call lasers. Yes, Isaiah 66:15. For behold, the Lord, Yahweh Shai, come up with fire, and his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. So when the chariots come back, and that's what they're known as, the chariots of Israel. Esau wants to call them UFOs, but they're the chariots of Israel. When they come back, they're going to blast fire. The scriptures talk about lightnings. The book of Habakkuk, the lightnings, and King David described them as lightnings when in the book of Psalms, when, his enemies can pass them round about. The chariot shot lightnings and discomforted them, his enemies. And they're going to do the same thing today, in this time. They're going to shoot those lightnings and lasers and blast this place with fire. And that's all before the nuclear destruction. Yeah, and Esau knows about it because he brings out in his movies. You watch that movie, War of the Worlds. They show you the original one as well as the new one, the remake. But the older one, it shows him blasting on them cities and blowing up those buildings and whatnot. Yeah, so it's going to play a dual role. Those chariots, it's going to be a curse unto Esau and these other nations, but it's going to be a blessing and salvation unto the elect of Israel. But yeah, the chariots, they're known as the chariots, and Elijah was taken up into a chariot. Yeah, 2 Kings 2:9, and it came to pass when they were gone over, that Elijah said unto Elisha, ask what I shall do for thee, before I be taken away from thee. And Elisha said, I pray thee, let a double portion of thy spirit be upon me. And he said, thou hast asked a hard thing. Nevertheless, if thou see me when I am taken from thee, it shall be so unto thee. But if not, it shall not be so. And it came to pass, as they still went on and talked, that behold, there appeared a chariot of fire and horses of fire, and parted them both asunder. And Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. So that's how Elijah was taken up, and that's how Yahweh was taken up when he went up into heaven. And in like manner, he's going to return, as the scriptures say. He's going to come back with those chariots of fire. Those horses, as the scriptures talking about, horses of fire, which is just, we're talking about those chariots. And Elisha saw it, and he cried, my father, the chariot of Israel. So yeah, when it talks about, for behold, Lord will come with fire, and his chariots, like the whirlwind, talking about those UFOs, what Esau calls UFOs. But really, they are the chariots of Israel. They're piloted by the angels. It says, with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury and his rebuke with flames of fire. So the Lord's going to come back with the chariots of Israel and blast fire. When laser beams are going to come out of the chariots and blow stuff up, man. Let me read that again. It's 2 Kings 2:12. And Elisha saw it, and he cried, my father, the chariot of Israel, and the horsemen thereof. And he saw it no more, and took hold of his own clothes, and rent them in 2 pieces. So yeah, that's how Elijah was taken up. That's how Yahweh Shai was taken up. And ultimately, that's how the elect is going to be taken up. This is Isaiah 31:5. As birds flying, so will the Lord of hosts defend Jerusalem. So it's part of the blessing that these chariots are coming in. Those birds flying, it's talking about them chariots. So they're going to come as a curse unto Esau. These are the heathens. And will come as a blessing So it's going to defend Jerusalem, man. As birds flying, so will the Lord of hosts defend Jerusalem. Defending also, he will deliver it, and passing over, he will preserve it. So the chariots are going to deliver the elect, man. They're going to get beamed up into them ships. So yeah, just how Elijah was taken up into heaven in a chariot, and how Yahushua was taken up into heaven in a chariot, into a chariot, up into heaven, up in the air, into those chariots. So will the elect. That's how they're going to be delivered. That's how the elect is going to be delivered. That's what salvation means. Deliverance from this nuclear destruction that's coming up. The outcome of World War III, the end game of World War III, is that nuclear destruction of America. In order to be delivered from that and to survive that, you're going to have to be delivered and brought up into a chariot, what Esau calls a UFO, which the true names of those vehicles are the chariots of Israel. This is Luke 21 and 25. And there shall be signs in the sun, the return of Yahushua, the heading. And there shall be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars. And you've seen those signs. And upon the earth, distress of nations, with perplexity, and sea and waves roaring. So yeah, there should be stress upon the earth, man. Midst of World War III, all hell breaking loose all over the planet. Men's hearts failing them for fear and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken. Men's hearts failing them for fear, man. People having heart attacks, when they see the things that are going on, man. The whole sky's filled with them chariots. All hell's breaking loose. We're gonna be perplexed and confused. I don't know what the hell's going on, man. It'll be a dark time on the planet Earth. Why the scripture says, woe unto the inhabitants of the earth. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. So that's another name for the chariots, a cloud, Coming in a cloud with power and great glory. And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh, man. Yeah, man, the power, and he's going to come in that chariot that he's going to come in, man. The size of a mountain, man. That's how big those chariots get. This Zechariah 6 and 1. I turned and I lifted up my eyes and looked, behold, there came 4 chariots out from between 2 mountains, and the mountains were mountains of brass. So what's that talking about? Chariot the size of a mountain, man. Ezra saw, the chariot that Yahushua was in. He saw the vision. He saw you can find out where the mountain was graven at. It was a mountain. It was the size of a mountain, man. He looked around. He couldn't find it. Where it was graven. He looked up. It covered up the whole sky, man. So yeah, I wanted to get into these disappearances and the deaths of a lot of these UFO researchers and a lot of these NASA scientists that's coming up with the news recently. And Spielberg, he's got a new movie coming out this summer called Disclosure Day. So I'm interested to see what he's gonna put in that movie. But yeah, with that, Shalom.